Scott with sjwellfire.com. Final Days Report, episode 485. We're going to tie in this Mark of the Beast, Biodigital Convergence, universal basic income tied to your DNA, poll in every city, ultimately turning you into a mind control zombie. We're going to weave in multiple threads on the big beast system picture. And the first story, I want to cover an angle I've not really heard anybody talk about. So Congress, many people have talked about this, it advances U.S.-Israeli military integration plan via the National Defense Authorization Act. A provision in 2027 draft of the U.S. Defense Bill could bind the two countries' weapons, industrial military complexes closer than ever. And I want to take a snippet of this article that would cover joint research and development. Think biodigital convergence, this brain hack, iron mixed with clay, the seeds of men will not cleave, the shared production of weapons and linking of the military systems and data. This is the AI beast system integration. Think Palantir enforcing Noahide laws. The Palantir iteration called the gospel that's taken out a lot of Palestinians. This is to hunt you down. And again, think of this biodigital convergence, this brain-computer interface, all the nanotech, COVID-19, Operation Warp Speed, a war on your seed. Think how IDF helped train ICE agents for lawlessness. Who can make war with the beast? So ultimately, what this says is they're fusing, in this ministry's humble point of view, the woman of the book of Revelation, Jerusalem, that sits on 7 hills, with USA Inc., as Israel becomes very, very unpopular with what they're doing. And I'm going to play a snippet of a 5-hour video of this great work Non-Vaxxer 420 has done. His channel really, I would call it the best site for getting into the white papers of what's coming. And just 25 minutes at the end, with this biodigital convergence, this brain-computer interface, this nanotech, basically the tokenization of every asset, every blade of grass that we've always covered, the entire agenda on how, at the end of the video, the small snippet I'm going to cover talks about how they can program you. They can turn you into a zombie. They can turn you into a slave. Read-write technology from scientists' mouths. Highly recommend you watch the entire 5-hour video. It's the Mark of the Beast system. It's the Microsoft's 06 system. It's evil. And you need to think about how we're going to weave in multiple stories with this ultimate agenda, with the pandemic, and then the solution with their nanotech, with synthetic medicine. By their sorceries, their pharmakia, they're going to fool the world. But it gets more nefarious. I thought this was just interesting. We've covered in this ministry how they're trying to give robots rights, and then they're trying to have you with this transhumanism agenda, this transgender agenda, this Baphomet agenda to morph into a machine. So China will put a unique ID code on humanoid robots, just like citizen ID for U.S. humans. So they're blending everything. Let's read a little bit of this article. China has launched a massive nationwide system to track every humanoid robot, every robot, with unique digital IDs, monitoring them from factory floor to final recycling. It's just interesting. So I'm going to play a video as these robots are working next to you, and they're going to have an ID. They're going to have different rights because they have feelings. We're being primed for this. I think it's all baloney. Ultimately, they'll have probably an AI judge if a robot goes rogue. We covered the story how a robot was arrested for the first time. They're going to move you over to this AI judge. They're blending humans and artificial intelligence. Let's continue the article. Over 28,000 robots across 200 models from more than 100 manufacturers now carry permanent digital identities designed for total oversight and safety risk management. These robots also feed the spy system that will funnel into the artificial intelligence, the social credit score, you name it. Ultimately, the Antichrist will be tied into this AI Tower of Babel system. As the country races Towards widespread deployment in homes, elder care, and beyond, this unprecedented surveillance move, really it should say, these robots are surveilling you, raises urgent questions about control, autonomy, and the future of AI in our world. They're taxing or going to tax these robots to feed the universal basic income model that the video I was talking about that we'll play at the end is tied to your DNA. It's a DNA seed war. It's a mind controlism war. It's a soul trap war. They're starting to roll these out. That will take your jobs early in next year to the following year.
Well, this evening, the airport now using robots. They'll soon be joining baggage handlers at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. Japan Airlines is starting a 2-year trial with the humanoid robots to see if they can help with baggage handling and cleaning the aircraft. Japan Airlines says the industry is facing challenges with an aging and shrinking workforce.
We've been warning about forever. You need to think about this surveillance state with Palantir. Palantir is the mark of the beast surveillance system. And they recently launched, maybe a month ago, a manifesto over 20 points. But let's read from The Guardian. Palantir's manifesto, which embraces AI state surveillance of citizens along with national service in the United States, is either a parody of RoboCop film or a disturbing narcissistic rant from an arrogant organization, said Martin Wrigley, a Liberal Democrat MP, this is coming from the UK, who is a member of the Common Science and Technology Select Committee. Either way, it shows that the company's ethos is entirely unsuited to working with and on UK government projects involving citizens' most sensitive private data. That has escaped. It's left the prison. So this is one of the manifesto points from the CEO, that weird duck. Free email is not enough. The decadence of a culture or civilization, and indeed its ruling class, will be forgiven only if that culture is capable of delivering economic growth and security for the public. So security for the public, poll in every city. And security for the public, biodigital convergence, brain-computer interface, this mark of the beast system, universal basic income for you if you give up your DNA, if you take the final mark of the beast system and worship the image when the nanotech's activated, that's gone across the blood-brain barrier. Manipulation and control, because you need to think about this. If the zombies are controlled, there'll be no crime. And you'll get paid with Microsoft's 060606 patent, do a said task. Check that old video out if you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them.
It's all moving so fast. And they're rolling out these robots next. U.S. first integrated humanoid factory set to build and roll out 100,000 Neo robots by 2027. The future just accelerated. U.S.-based robotics company 1X has launched full-scale production at its new Neo factory in Hayward, California, the first integrated humanoid manufacturing facility in the country. These advanced Neo robots are designed to work alongside humans, assisting with daily tasks and mobility support, with plans to roll out over 100,000 units by 2027. Demand is exploding. That's the sad part of this article. Their initial production run sold out in just 5 days. I had an idea of a brand made by humans, because you spend your money with humans, driven by humans, a doctor assessed by humans. We have to fight back. We need a parallel analog society of what's moving forward. And we can't stop prophecy, obviously. But we've got to fight. The age of humanoid robots entering American homes is here. The question is, are we truly prepared for what comes next? No. And what these robots are meant to do. Now, this all funnels the data centers. U.S. law enforcement warns of anti-tech extremism as AI hatred grows. I watched a video of how water is coming out of the faucet brown. They're sucking all the water. Meanwhile, they're putting smart meter tech on your water, on your electricity. The horror stories of electricity skyrocketing. What a scam. I don't believe in the carbon dioxide and the global warming scam, but they literally produce a bunch of carbon dioxide. Rules for them, rules for you. Let's continue. Federal authorities are now actively monitoring Americans who strongly oppose AI expansion, labeling growing public anger as a potential domestic threat. With job losses mounting, the job scissor, and massive data centers invading communities, protests are intensifying, and authorities warn of violence on the horizon. At 20%, people protest.
Don't put your hands on. Watch out, ATVD is following me. For what? What did he do wrong? Cops are pussy. You guys are fucking pussies for doing this. He did nothing fucking wrong. You're pieces of shit. Or what? Or what? I'm not doing anything wrong.
We are literally having a town meeting in a barn. There's taxidermy on the wall, and you're talking about proposing an AI crypto mining data center in this town. This is not a wealthy New York City suburb. This is working class Jersey at its core. And not only are you inviting big tech into our backyard, but you're handing out tax breaks to them as if there's not work to be done here, as if there's not potholes to be filled, roads to be fixed, schools to be funded, some men here for our volunteer fire department. And if you're going to invite them into our backyard, take away our job opportunities, raise our electric bills, right, pollute our water, the least that you could demand from them is adequate tax payments for their facility. But you're taking a buyout. Tens of millions of dollars that's being wasted that's not going to these things. Economic development for who? Because it's not the town. We're not getting a lot of funding from this, right? You're doing it for big tech, for Silicon Valley. And, you know, you act like this wasn't happening. You tried to slip it under the rug, so I got to ask, how much are they paying you to allow this data center? Are we going to answer? Are you going to answer that later? Absolutely. Yep. We deserve to know, because it seems like no one in this room wants this except for you six. It's mind-boggling. And you're certainly not getting your jobs back after this, right? Because you're not doing your jobs. You're not representing the people who put you in these seats, the people that it's your job to represent, right? The people that you work for, us. It's insane. You got the whole community here saying they don't want it.
This article screams Palantir mission creep. Palantir to see if you are against the highly mainstream news articles on how wicked and evil and destructive these data centers are. And it's hilarious that Shark Tank Dr. Evil is blaming these protests on China. You can't make this up. China's funding this. No, it's just intellectual curiosity. It's just, we don't want to be surveilled. We don't want this biodigital convergence, this new ecosystem where everything is digitized. Everything is digitized. You'll live in Meta. You're going to be the source of their electricity to power 6G. You're going to be the cell phone. It's just purely satanic.
If you go back in time, any new technology is extremely disruptive. Change is disruptive and it's uncomfortable. And it always is that way. And yet it always proves within the context of the American economy to create a lot of productivity and opportunity. And I would argue today, if we're going to find a cure for cancer, it's going to be through AI. If we're going to democratize education, it'll be through AI. If we're going to do some advances on space research and travel, it'll be through AI. Productivity in the S&P 500 and it's all small companies, AI. And you can't have it without data centers. You actually need the underpinnings, the infrastructure. And so that debate, that narrative's going on. But there's a dark side to this that I've only started to bring forward in the last couple of weeks. I discovered this in Utah, that there are some nefarious forces. Arabella is the name of it. I didn't know anything about it, but I was wondering who was spending all the money in Utah with all that misinformation about what the data center was going to be, talking about using water we weren't, or using power we had no intention to, or 40,000 acres. That's complete BS. It was all lies. And I said, who could afford that? So I hired a bunch of forensic auditors, and lo and behold, it took me back to the Chinese through Arabellum. Neville Singham is his name. He's funding all these organizations in Utah, and I caught him through the IRS 990 filings, and I handed it over to the White House and to a bunch of special agents, and I just wonder what's going to happen next. I'm loving this now. This is so interesting, and it's a national debate, and the poo-poos hit the fan, but I'm not debating this. I'm not suggesting it. I have irrefutable evidence the Chinese are meddling in every place where new power is being proposed in America, every state, every city, and it all goes back to the Chinese through this Arabellum. And just look at the IRS filings. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just providing the truth.
Kevin, so just for context here, there is a proposal to build some data centers in Utah, and you're saying that the pushback and the negative reaction that has been seen is being encouraged or sponsored by the Chinese who are driving misinformation through bots. Is that what you're proposing?
No, it's not through bots. It's actually through contributions that are shown through a wide network of different entities. It's very well cloaked, but through forensic audit and IP address scraping, with some really strong data scientists that I hired and I'm working with, we were able to provide 90 pages of IP addresses from foreigners to various agents and various entities within the U.S. government.
Purely the synagogue of Satan. Now, then how does this fit? This biohacking. Again, I'll play that 25-minute video at the end where I think he outlines the plan for this mark of the beast system. Personally, I think he needs to say, this is the mark of the beast system. This is iron mixed with clay. Seeds of men will not cleave. It's a soul trap. But they're pushing, obviously, disease X that we've been covering for the last 3-4 years. So they're pushing pestilence. They need to get your DNA with medicine. And then somehow DNA is going to be tied to universal basic income in this mark of the beast system. And, oh, by the way, they're going to promise you a cure. So let's dive into this. Pulling out The Economist magazine again, just want to highlight for 2026, The Economist owned by the Rothschilds, supposedly, and owners of the central banks around the world. Obviously, there's a syringe. A syringe is part of the agenda. They need to continuously poke you with their synthetic medicine. Now, here is where it just gets interesting. Google planning to release millions of mosquitoes into California to help stop diseases. Why is Google and Bill Gates messing with mosquitoes, GMO mosquitoes? What can go wrong? What sort of software is the end game? What sort of biohacking of you is the end game? California could soon become a testing ground for one of Google's most ambitious public health projects yet. I should say public hell projects yet. The tech giant is seeking federal approval to release up to 32 million specially treated mosquitoes, GMO mosquitoes, in California and Florida over the next 2 years as part of an effort to reduce the spread of mosquito-borne diseases, including West Nile virus. And they just go over a whole bunch of stuff like Zika and so on and so forth, yellow fever, blah, 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 blah. The proposal is currently under review by U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. It should be called the U.S. Environmental Get You Sick Agency, Destroy the Environment Agency, Destroy God's Creation Agency, which is accepting public comments through June 5th before deciding whether to issue an experimental use permit. GMO mosquitoes, right? We saw the tick boxes, all smells like disease X. See it a mile away. And then the solution is going to be their synthetic medication. Here could be the false prophet Elon Musk priming the pump. And all of this, I go back to this, is in the Bible. Revelation 18:23, King James Version. And the light of the candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by their sorceries, by their pharmakia, were all nations deceived. When you looking deeper into sorceries and the etymology, it's pharmakia. Playing right out in front of you. Let's roll. Elon.
I guess there's probably a lot of opportunity in synthetic medicine. So with like these days, you can basically create custom, RNA. And I think like the sort of we're going from a situation where medicine has been analog, where we kind of like just find drugs kind of by accident most of the time. Like finding sticks in the forest that, seem like this stick seems like a useful club, type of thing. It's quite primitive how we found medication in the past. Now, but once you can, and since we can now construct synthetic RNA, you can effectively think of medicine, the future of medicine, as being digital. Like, so if you just know what to program into that synthetic RNA strand, you can basically I think, cure almost anything.
You know, it's interesting. I was thinking about this when I interviewed the governor of Florida candidate, James Shaw. He talked about how he had a heart palpitation and one of his sons told him to read a book from the early 1800s, and he took the natural remedy and cured his heart issue. Prayer and the herbs of the earth to heal yourself. It's like we're devolving the further we get from Adam and Eve in the creation. And this reminds me of men shall seek death and not find it. Trump talking about some sort of drug that basically brought somebody back from the dead. Right? The Antichrist is going to promise miracles, solutions.
Years, 10 years, by the way, we think we've cut it in half, but you do need a period of time. Without waiting many, many years, we know the drug works because we've taken people that were dead. We had a person given the last rites, God. The kids are crying and started them on this drug, and the person became better. It works, you know, and some don't work. But you learn really fast. It's called the ultimate test, I think, correct? You know, they test all these things. They use animals all over the place. They use everything to test. Person's going to die. So.
Kind of crazy. Purple stands for royal. Everybody's wearing purple. I was reading an article about how they launched an app in the White House that praises Trump. You could send Trump a great message of praise. Do you have eyes to see, my friends? Now, we've talked about the business model that they don't teach in business schools. Destroy everything. Order out of chaos, right? Destroy it all. Then come up with a solution for the profit, and ultimately is to control you with their nanotech that goes across the blood-brain barrier. If you show up as a Mac ID, and we played the video of somebody that came across a tick box with slits in it, and now all of a sudden they have a new vaccine? Madness.
So is this vaccine available now?
This vaccine is not available now. It should be available in a few months. I have a feeling with Spotlight, they may fast track it. It's a completely safe vaccine based on older technology. It's not something that we don't know about. It's using proteins and basically peptides to target the Lyme, part of the proteins on the Lyme Borrelia, it's called, the bacteria itself. Very, very, very promising. It's going to be useful. Last time we had a Lyme vaccine, nobody took it. This vaccine is safe, effective. I think we're going to get a lot of use out of it.
Interesting. All right, let's end with some good news. Luke 20, verses 38. And I'm saying don't be a biohacked mind control universal basic income slave. For he is not a God of the dead. You're going to be dead if you hook up to this stuff, if you keep poking yourself with their technology. If you're not saved, you're going to need Holy Ghost protection. For he is not a God of the dead, but of the living, for all live unto him. In 2 Corinthians chapter 6, 17 and 18, don't touch their unclean biohack technology. Wherefore come out from among them and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty. I'm taking this verse a little bit on the sorcery side of things, because it is wicked. It is a wicked, wicked time. All right, I'm going to play 25 minutes or so of this video. It's the first 25 minutes, so you can keep rolling for the last 5. And I've noticed a lot of those videos we played over the years, the little snippets that he's done. But again, on his channel, he goes very, very deep into the science on this biodigital brain hack technology, the Internet of Things, Internet of Bodies, 6G. Satan has but a short time. And the headline here, data centers, tokenization of your body for universal basic income in the 6G network nano gov 25-year-long agenda completed. God bless. Thanks for your support. Hey, quick story. I created a shirt of God. So it's like the armor of God, I don't know if you can see that. You can tell that your story, love of God, fear of God. It's just an interesting way to try to save souls. And I walked next to a bunch of homeless people, and they thought of God said off God. Off God, and they were shocked. What kind of person's saying off God? So I came in and said, no, it's of God. It's the armor of God. And I started quoting some scripture and the mercy of God and the love of God and the fear of God. And it was a good conversation. And these people, some of them were down on the luck. Some of them probably had some mental illness, it looked like, and others were into drugs, you know, but they, for the most part, thought I was offending God, and I had an opportunity to give them the gospel. So nice, fun way to spread the word. Put on the armor of God, pray. Maybe you can open up some souls and have some conversations. And God bless. It was just a unique experience, and had a fellowship with a couple homeless people. A lot of homeless people here in Florida. Not all of them, you know, are, a lot of them are on, basically kind of got stuck in divorce, lost their job, couldn't pay. Not all. But whenever I walk by some homeless people, I try to bind their demons. I don't extract them, because if they're not saved, they'll come back, 7 times worse? But I pray for them. It was just kind of a moving experience with the Of God brand. So God bless, my friends. And enjoy this video. Check it out. He does a nice job covering what is coming.
All right, guys, you guys are going to love this one. So tokenization has officially moved from experimental pilots to live production on Wall Street, with the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation set to begin limited tokenized securities trading in July of 2026 and a full platform launch in October of 2026. The milestone involves tokenizing actual tangible assets held in custody, including Russell 1000 constituents, ETFs, and U.S. Treasuries, while maintaining existing investor rights and protections. Major financial institutions are rapidly integrating blockchain infrastructure to enable 24/7 trading, instant settlements, and stable coin-based funding. The New York Stock Exchange, NYSE, is developing a tokenized securities platform in partnership with BNY Mellon and Citibank, while NASDAQ has received SEC approval to test blockchain-issued asset frameworks. This convergence is supported by regulatory clarity, including the Genius Act and SEC No Action Letters, which have facilitated a market expansion projected to reach $80 billion to $4 trillion in real-world assets by 2028. So why is tokenization hitting the mainstream so important? Let's talk about that. So there's a document that I've read multiple times on this channel, multiple different parts of it. I'm not going to go through the whole thing today because it's too long. I will leave all the source links to everything I'm showing you in this video down below. But it's from Policy Horizons Canada, who runs the Biodigital Convergence, creating the policy, the global policy. This document is called Biodigital Today and Tomorrow. It was released in 2022. And as you can see by the picture here, it's a SIM chip merging with your genes, with your DNA. Okay? It's bio and digital converging together, merging together. Your body and the digital world meshing, which is exactly what 6G is all about. So now you come down to the 5.0 health section and you keep scrolling down, okay? And there's lots of interesting stuff in this paper, like the CRISPRization of humans, what your future healthcare will look like in this biodigital convergence. I would strongly suggest reading the entire document, but today we're going to go through the most important piece that has to do with tokenization. So biodatabases. Now listen very, very closely and carefully right now. This was written in 2022. It is a global document that is basically like a think tank that's in Canada, and they're writing the policy considerations that every one of the 194 member states of the United Nations are going to be basically copying and pasting and implementing it into their policy to push through the biodigital convergence or the bioeconomy, because that's what the entire economy is moving into. It's called the bioeconomy. So biodatabases, DNA databases could become a source of income and health security. In the coming years, it could be possible and relatively simple to collect DNA information using a smartphone. As biodata becomes more ubiquitous, questions surrounding who collects, uses, retains, and discloses it will become pivotal. Applications, apps, smartwatches, wearables, and phones are already collecting biodata outside the traditional healthcare sector. An extension of this data collection would be commercial and consumer engagement with biomic or genomic data. DNA data marketplaces based on blockchains could emerge, allowing individuals or designated data trusts to share genomic information with corporations, academic researchers, and even governments in exchange for benefits or payments. Let me repeat that. In exchange for benefits or payments. That's UBI, Universal Basic Income. So that's all we're going to read from this document. We're going to move over to another document. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible so it makes sense for you. So now all I did, because we heard in that Biodigital Today and Tomorrow about DNA data marketplace, okay, based on blockchain. So all I did was go to Google, any browser. In this case, I'm using Brave, and I typed in blockchain DNA data marketplace. So blockchain DNA data marketplaces are decentralized platforms that allow individuals to store, control, and monetize their genomic data, eliminating traditional corporate intermediaries like 23andMe. These systems use cryptocurrency tokens and smart contracts to facilitate secure transactions between data owners and researchers or pharmaceutical companies, ensuring privacy through encryption and anonymous identity management. Key platforms in this emerging space include Nebula Genomics offers free or low-cost whole genome sequencing in exchange for Nebula tokens, allowing users to sell access to their encrypted data to researchers while retaining control over who can view it. EncryptGen Gene Chain, the first blockchain-enabled DNA marketplace, enabling users to upload data from other providers, set their own price for access, and receive payments in DNA tokens. Xenome uses a distributed network of nodes to fragment and encrypt data, allowing users to earn ZNA tokens by contributing data to genomic analysis without exposing their full genome to any single entity. DNAtix provides genetic wallets for anonymous data exchange, rewarding users with DNAtix tokens for participating in research studies. These marketplaces address the privacy and consent concerns of traditional genetic testing by giving users the ability to grant or revoke access dynamically. However, the industry faces challenges, including cryptocurrency volatility, regulatory uncertainty, and the need for a large user base to create valuable data sets for research. So they already have a DNA data marketplace based on blockchain where you can monetize your genomic data. This is already a reality, okay? But it all links into what is coming. Why the data centers? Why the AI? Why the nanotechnology in everything? I hope it all clicks by the end of this video. So now, right here on Forbes magazine, there's already a DNA token, okay? Has Block Explorer ID added to it, everything, okay? So about DNA. DNA is the blueprint of life and now the foundation of a revolutionary meme coin. Bridging biology and blockchain, DNA celebrates the essence of evolution and innovation. With DNA, we're rewriting the crypto genome, transparent, decentralized, and unstoppable. From holders to innovators, this token unites a vibrant community driven by curiosity and creativity. It's not just a coin. It's a movement to evolve the way we think about memes, money, and the molecular magic of life. So it's already being traded on CoinMarketCap through this DNA data marketplace. So now all I did was I went to Google, Brave, in my case, doesn't matter what browser, you're going to get the same information. Staking your body. Staking your body refers to futuristic Web3 concept where individuals use biometric data such as DNA or iris scans to verify their physical existence and potentially earn passive income or access to decentralized financial services. This process involves zero-knowledge proofs and hardware attestation to create a cryptographic certificate of biological reality without exposing raw sensitive data, effectively turning physiology into liquidity. Key aspects of this concept include biometric verification, uses sensor and scanners to confirm a unique living person, generating a ZK proof that is sent to the blockchain while raw data is destroyed or kept encrypted via fully homomorphic encryption. Economic implications. Users might stake their biological identity to receive universal basic income, UBI, payouts, or grant lab access to genetic data. This raises significant privacy risks regarding family, medical history, and data cloning. Privacy risks. Critics argue this creates a new form of economic coercion and total de-anonymization, where the right to join the digital economy is bought at a price of surrendering biological privacy. Now, I'm going to add to that as a critic and privacy risks. If you accept this and you stake your body for a universal basic income, I'm pretty sure there will be mandates attached to that where you will have to provide the government whatever biological data they require of you in order to receive a universal basic income. Now that your body is a token on this network, because as soon as you take that universal basic income, that's what you are going to be doing. You are going to be staking your body on this DNA network. So we're going to read the article from Forklog, which is like a crypto forking service. Staking your body on the biopolitics of the Web3 era. This was written 27/02/2026. The rise of artificial intelligence has put traditional online verification under strain. Text, passwords, CAPTCHA, and facial recognition algorithms no longer guarantee a user's uniqueness. The digital realm now depends on a cryptographic proof of humanness. The Web3 industry is moving to a new tier of identification, turning the physical body into a universal access instrument. The iris, palm, vein patterns, heartbeat, and genetic code are becoming the primary keys to the new economy. Your golden age. Forklog examines how the philosophical concept of biopolitics is taking shape in blockchain networks, why metaverses want users' biological data, and what risks lurk in trading one's own genome. Bare life in Web3. The modern idea of biopolitics was formulated in the mid-1970s by Michael Foucault. The French philosopher showed that as the modern state emerged, power turned to governing populations and economy through medicine, hygiene, and demography. The human body became an object of political regulation via disciplinary institutions, schools, hospitals, prisons, statistics, and mechanisms to control the quality and duration of life. Foucault's observations were later radicalized by the Italian political philosopher Giorgio Agamben in Homo Sacer, Sovereign Power and Bare Life, 1995. He introduced the term bare life, nuda vita, a condition in which a person is stripped of political subjecthood and treated purely as a biological organism. Web3 can be seen as the basis for a new economic infrastructure in which the states and capital's monopoly over identity cedes to decentralized protocols. Here, blockchain networks forge their own biopolitics. The physical body is no longer merely a vessel for the mind. The organism becomes a generator of data. Today's technologies are turning bare life into digitized life. A unique DNA nucleotide sequence or an repeatable iris pattern becomes the foundation of social capital. In future protocols may require users to prove biological reality in exchange for access to financial services, governance, and capital allocation. From iris to DNA, the evolution of biometric networks. The crypto industry's mass encounter with biometrics began with projects like formerly known as WorldCoin. Its developers built an orb specifically to scan the iris by providing a biometric imprint. Participants received WLD, so that's WorldCoin tokens, and a World ID digital passport. The launch ignited a debate over the ethics of swapping unique biological markers for financial assets. Even so, the idea of universal basic income, UBI, financed by protocol tokenomics, duly attracted millions of users. World's early lead in proof of personhood proved short-lived. New protocols changed how data are gathered. Hardware constraints are giving way to mobile technologies. The Humanity Protocol deployed a network on Polygon that uses palm biometrics, including vein scanning, via smartphones or dedicated devices. It does not require org-level specialized hardware, dramatically accelerating network scaling. The TON ecosystem integrated human codes solutions. Telegram users can verify identity by scanning a palm directly from the mini apps. Developers rely on cryptographic protection of biometric vectors inside the phone using secure enclave standards available to iOS users. Progress in the sector is pushing towards deeper data. Startups are laying the groundwork for DNA collection. Projects at the intersection of blockchain and decentralized science, DeSci, are emerging. Platforms such as Genome Deo offer to sequence a genome and encrypt the results. The genome's owner can sell time-limited access to genetic markers to pharmaceutical companies without revealing a direct link to identity. These trends point to a single economic model of total biometric coverage. It is plausible that to receive enhanced UBI payouts in future metaverses, users will need to provide a comprehensive biological profile. If base level payouts can be unlocked with a simple face scan, the mid-tier may require wearables, streaming heart rate and sleep phases. The highest level of passive income would be reserved for fully verified donors of genetic codes. So they just told you right there, once you take your UBI, there's going to be levels to this. So the more genetic DNA biological data you agree to, the higher your universal basic income will be. The less stuff that you agree to do and take part in, the lower your universal basic income will be. They just told you that clear as day right there.
We started something big, and I believe firmly that it will become bigger and bigger as our devices will move from being in electronics to being more and more embedded with biology. Just look at the 6G standardization, how it is going. Biology is all there.
Because if we collect information from every individual in the world, there will be a lot of information here, right? So then you have the scalability problem. You need the scalable, secure solutions, for example, right?
Another question, is it possible to remotely reprogram those bacteria you put inside the human body?
Yes.
So if so, the security risk is much more challenging than we thought.
Absolutely, yeah. So actually, that's true. Like
at the beginning, you mentioned the network is two-way. So if the network communication is two-way and we can reprogram the bacteria we are putting inside the body, we have a huge risk of security over there.
This part is the cyber world, right? So now, of course, that's really very, very important that somebody will send all the wrong information and it can create a zombie, right? All the device inside can malfunction, right? So it's very, very important that who is transmitting or who is reprogramming that, right? So, of course, it's very important.
Somebody, in fact, can cut the communication with the internet, and like a man in the middle attack, and come to the near-field communication and reprogram it. And this is a huge attack.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's very likely. And that's why it's extremely important, that part I kept saying about security, right, in the cyberspace. So that's an open issue, and hopefully, people will behave nicely. But that's not the case, unfortunately. You're right. So now somebody can come and then really reprogram you and kill you, even. So now somebody can come and then really reprogram you and kill you, even.